Okay. Welcome, my brother Mawut Luis. Maybe for the benefit of my audience, you can just introduce yourself for those who might not have heard of you before.
Thank you so much, Brother Nelson. It's my pleasure to be here. My name is Mawut Luis. I work as I run the Aptitude for Justice law firm and also a co-founder of a company that is called Fortuna Action for General Trading Company. Our key focus in the company is on issues related to assistive devices and assistive technology. And in assistive technology, we do several works, and also at the same time, we do various consultancy work with different organizations. So it's my pleasure also to thank Senior Hub for giving this opportunity, for creating this opportunity to feature the capacities of youth in our society, and also demonstrate the necessary expertise that our society is yearning for.
Okay. Thank you so much, Maud. I met you at the training at Connector Hub, and I think I was very intrigued by your prowess and knowledge also. Maybe by way of background, you can tell us a little bit about probably where you grew up and how the nature of your early upbringing.
Thank you so much. I had most of my childhood in Khartoum. That is where I grew up after moving actually from South Sudan in early childhood to Sudan, where I also attended my primary and secondary school. After that, I went to university at the University of Juba in South Sudan. One of my achievements is that I was recognized as part of Mandela Washington Fellowship for young African leaders in 2016, where I was trained on civic leadership and community engagement, and also had an opportunity to attend the professional development experience. And one of the critical memories that I have during that program is that I had the opportunity to present during the Ignite talks in Washington, where President Obama was was actually attending the program. So it was my pleasure to be part of such a program. Of course, I grew up in an environment where I had the level of support that I needed and that I think everybody needs to succeed and overcome the different challenges that people face in life. And being able to progress is not all the time an individual of one's own effort, but it is actually most of the times a result of collective responsibility and the collective contributions being directly or indirectly, because I believe that the environment contributes significantly to everybody's progress.
So, I think that's a very good point to echo the environment, how it can contribute. Like growing up as someone who is visually impaired, we're in a society that's like very prejudiced and probably not as advanced as some of the places that you've been to in the US or the rest. What kind of challenges have you faced, kind of like dealing with the society at a very early age, or probably even later on?
Thank you so much. One approach that I use to assess the level of understanding in our society is that everybody faces challenge, and in our context, if you are somebody who is very thin, then people will make fun actually of your body size.
Yeah.
So they will feel that this person is maybe skinny and ugly and all those kind of things. If you have a huge body, then they will believe that this person also eats too much. If you are too short, people have time to make fun of you and feel that you are a child, even if you are an adult. And if you are too tall, they will also make fun of you, thinking that you might not be able to run as fast as others. So in our society, of course, I was able to struggle with different types of challenges. And one of the key challenges is the lack of accessibility to some of the learning materials. For example, in schools and in universities, some of the materials might not necessarily be accessible, leave alone the perceptions in the society that can be a hindrance to somebody's capacity to progress. Because when you live in an environment where everybody is negative, you also start to develop the feeling of negativity that because of the differences or of the perceptions that people hold toward you, that you might not be able to do certain things. However, in this type of environment, I was able to understand the different types of analysis, because as somebody who had actually disability from an early childhood,
How early were you with this with an visual impairment?
Yeah, actually, it was too early. Actually, a few months after birth, I had contracted a certain disease, and I immediately lost my sight. So I can say that almost most of my life, I have been visually impaired person. So it was actually something normal for me to understand the life with that kind of perspective. And not only that actually, but this experience had enabled me to make sure that I also contribute in the development of other people with disabilities in South Sudan, and encourage them so that they can overcome the different types of challenges. And this had enabled me to support some families psychologically, some people who acquired disability at later stages, also provide them with the necessary support and motivation that every finish line is a beginning of a new race, so it shouldn't be an obstacle for them.
Do you
to
think
stop
people who get a visual impairment at a later stage, do you think the psychological burden is a bit higher?
Sure. Of course, actually, with the society, people always have different types of expectations and different types of mindset. So once somebody experiences something at a later stage, of course, the weight of the new experience also always becomes heavier for that particular person, which actually takes more time to provide counseling and support for the person to be able to overcome those types of challenges. Of course, what actually exacerbate these issues is the support that comes from the surrounding environment, because for other people, as soon as you acquire disability, you begin to lose some colleagues, you begin to lose maybe job, sometimes you begin to lose your status in the family. So all those combined can also worsen the psychological status of the person.
You lose some friends because some of them will feel that you're a bit of a burdensome in terms of experiencing some of the things that you used to experience together.
Yeah, of course. Sometimes people might feel that you might not be able to. For example, if both of you were football fans and one person loses sight, then you will feel like this person might not also be able to go with us to the club and watch football at night. So those ones will be a bit challenging. For example, if all of you are drivers, you'll feel like, oh, this person will no longer be able to drive. So there's no reason that we should be together. Sometimes people don't express it directly,
But
but
implicitly,
of
you can
course,
see
implicitly, you will feel like the person is no longer able to deliver these things. So the benefit of friendship will not help that much. And the high level of sympathy that exists in our society sometimes, and there's feelings of charity, sometimes actually makes it difficult for the person to receive empowering messages from the surrounding environment.
but also like someone who gets visual impairment at the later stage of life, they're definitely also their skill set haven't developed, as opposed to someone who's from a young age, or someone else has probably already developed how to use the visual impairment aids and what. So
Actually, what happens is that once you lose sight, your skill doesn't go away.
oh, your
But
skill's
what
still there.
happens is that is the issue of adaptation, is how to adapt to the new environment. For example, if you were a phone user, the only difference that you may not need to use your eye, but you might still be able to use the same types of devices. So it's about a bit of rehabilitation services, accessing some rehabilitation services and being helped to transition to the new environment. So it's just
Adaptation.
similar to living one experience. Like, for example, you might be a teacher, but you just want to shift to become an entrepreneur. So it's actually about adapting to a new environment.
Yeah, take me back. Earlier on, you said issues of accessibility at an early age. I think our society inherently is designed for people who can see the books, like all our experience, even our language. Look, come here, see this, whatever. Look forward. Even our language is designed for a world that is visually, a world of people who can see. So even so like even in schools, like, did you access any books in brailles or any, or even things that can be said or stuff like that?
Thank you. Of course, actually, the most important thing is that during my school time, of course, there were several challenges, but what is motivating currently is the advancement brought forth by artificial intelligence and also assistive technology. And through assistive technology, you might not necessarily need some of the books in braille, but of course, an iPhone or an Android phone can help you to read the content of a print paper using the camera of the phone. So you might not necessarily need the document to be translated into braille format for you to be able to access it. The same thing also with a computer. For example, if you have the documents in a soft copy version, it will be easy for you to access the same document like anybody else. In terms of the design of our society, of course, this might take me back to a point that the society where we live was not intentionally designed, but it was rather designed by default. So since it was designed by default, we did not have much of a say on how our society should look like. And therefore, it happened to be designed the way it is. And in my perspective, not only that the society has been designed for people without disabilities, but rather what happens is that our society has been designed in a separated way, where people with disabilities will have a different society, and the larger community will also have a different society, where men will have different society, and women will have their own society, where young people will have their own society, and older people will have their own society. So these types of classification had a significant impact on our society, both negative and positive. Nevertheless, what is critical is that as the world is advancing and as it is proclaimed under the Sustainable Development Goals and different human rights convention, the world is advancing toward inclusion, given the different types of skill sets and capacities and abilities that each and every one of us can have in our society. And therefore, it is inevitable that our society should change in the way that the world is transforming. Of course, in the past, if you talk to somebody on the phone, you might be the most respected magician in the area, because people will not expect, for example, somebody in Juba to talk to somebody in the village. But currently, those types of things happen. So there is actually a deliberate type of change, but there are types of change that we are supposed to comply with. In terms of economic argument, of course, it is important for us to enable all our skill force to contribute positively to the development of the society. And for us to be able to do that, it is important to empower each and every member of our society to reduce the potential, not only to reduce actually the potential burden, but also to maximize the potential contributions.
I think definitely that is, I mean, technology and advancement is usually an equalizer. I mean, when you see now some of the technological advancement, it equalizes some of the differences that you talked about. Like before then, even the ability to write, it used to be valued so much. Who can write a letter, who cannot write? But nowadays, you can easily, anyone who is kind of with a reasonable education, because before the advancement of telephone, the people who can communicate are the people who can write. So people who cannot write goes to people who can write so that they can send letters. Sure. And then on the other side, also people read it for them. But now, whatever mother tongue, whatever way you can voice, you can call people and you can communicate. And I think every technological advancement is an equalizer. It brings more people to of course, it also gives advantage to some people unfairly, but it's usually an equalizer. And I think when you're talking about AI probably now gives us a better equalizer, because you can now access a document, scan it, and you get you get to read it. Yeah, and even some other technologies, some other companies are even talking about ideas of implants and stuff like that, giving someone ability to even for the brain to perceive some of the things that are happening. I think that's probably maybe people in the future are going to benefit from it.
Sure.
Yeah. I really like, I mean, it's interesting I'm talking about this also. Do you think also to some extent is that a lot of the people who want to talk to you or have conversations with you, they usually want to talk about visual impairment? I mean, I'm doing this in this podcast, so I'm also guilty of that. Do you think sometimes also people just want to, talk to us about the disability issues? Or I don't know, how do you perceive that?
Well, actually, to me, it's two-way traffic. On one end, of course, some people want to talk about visual impairment, for example, just maybe to learn or to educate their surrounding society, which is not necessarily a problem, because I think learning is a continuous long process, which is actually not a problem. Also, on the other end, of course, we at some points also focus on the other types of things that we can do, without necessarily focusing on
disability,
visual impairment or disability and all those kind of things. So there is something in Arabic that says li kulli maqamin magal.
So every place there is a state.
In every place there is a type of expression or a type of a topic that might be relevant. So once that particular topic becomes relevant at that particular time, it is important to give that particular topic the due consideration without being judgmental on whether this topic is focusing too much on this or not focusing too much on that. Because, of course, people do inquiries for different reasons.
Okay. I think that's definitely. The feeling that I had, and I think, for example, that's, I don't know, it took me some time, but like over the past few years, the feeling that I had, I realized like how ignorant I am about various types of disabilities, because as I travel, I remember I went to Germany and the traffic lights have this ticking sound. Tuck, 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 tuck. For me, I saw it first. I'm like, what is this? I thought the thing is faulty. So I was told like, hey, this actual sound is for visual impairment, because people can detect the sounds, can show when the traffic light is green. Someone can listen to it, can detect when the traffic light is green and when it is red, and stuff like that. I was just like, wow, this is this is actually a very new kind of sound. In terms of empathy and understanding of some of this thing, you think where is our society in terms of that, in understanding, not understanding visual impairment or not, but also understanding, okay, how do I, what is even appropriate and how much knowledge should we gain in terms of some certain disabilities?
Of course, I would say that different types of societies have emerged at different levels, and of course, it will be a little bit hard to put too much of expectation on a society like our South Sudanese society, which has just been part of the larger world. However, this does not also um, prevent them or exempt them from responsibility toward members of the society. So, the type of knowledge that is critical for our society to have is to take into consideration empowering types of ideas, because one thing that I observed in our society is that there is a significant level of there is high significant feelings of inferiority, vulnerability, those kind of things. Actually, that is the common issue in our society. Everybody believes that he or she is vulnerable. Everybody believes that he or she is inferior to someone. Everybody believes that he or she is facing obstacles, and that is why we feel that we are not able to progress. And sometimes, actually, it is a shield that we have created through our imagination that hinder our progress. So it is important for us to believe that what is important is that the sky is the limit. In in March this year, I was in Belgium and had the opportunity to meet with some members of the South Sudanese embassy who are actually in Brussels, and they were actually um, kind of surprised how I went there and
So,
all
so they
those
were
kind of
surprised
things.
that
So
you reached there.
it was actually something strange for them, but it was in the end it was okay. I was telling them that of course everybody there's no miracle, but there's nothing impossible. So what is important is for people to know that everything is possible, but everything is worth investment. There's nothing that can happen out of the blue without deliberate effort.
And I think you are you're a very eloquent and intelligent person. If someone can say that, and also, I mean, your demeanor and the way you carry yourself and some of the places that you've been to, um, people look up to you, and people drive some motivation from some of the stuff you're doing, even at times in a manner, as you say, some of them are like surprised in an innocent, ignorant way. How do you what do you make of that?
Well, of course, um, you cannot control how people react to different types of events, because people have different types of emotional composure. So the way people react to something is not really a problem, but what is critical is what do they learn from that type of reaction. So if people are able to learn from the type of reaction that they have, I think there's no problem with that. But the challenge is when people react to something but they don't learn from it. And one thing that I had to learn from the different types of countries that I managed to visit, different programs that I participated in, maybe in Africa or maybe in other parts of the world, is that everybody has an equal chance, but it is about how people make use of the opportunity that comes their way. And sometimes a certain type of reaction can be an opportunity for you to do something. I remember um, in um, in 2016 when I participated in the YALI program. My primary focus was on issues related to disability inclusion and the rest. But when I went to the US, one thing that drew my attention is technology itself. And when I saw issues related to technology becoming more and more important, I had to invest a bit of time to learn things related to technology. And most importantly, it has become an opportunity in our context in South Sudan, as I can currently facilitate different types of capacity building programs on the use of computer with a screen reader, how people can use different types of phones with screen readers, maybe sometimes even not necessarily issues to do with the screen readers, but also issues to do with web accessibility, which is actually something that I learned because I remember one time I met somebody with visual impairment who's working for a Google company as an accessibility specialist. So I said, this thing is possible here in South Sudan, even without formal education. Those things are possible here. So I had to invest a bit of time, which is actually working, and I believe that South Sudan is coming slowly, but we hope that things will peace will continue to prevail, so that at least things can progress in the expected way.
That's actually very the issue of accessibility and accessibility tech, because that's something that your company works on right now, right?
Yes.
What kind of products and stuff do you offer?
Actually, we offer different types of products. For example, we have educational products that are related to. There's a product that is called. There are actually different types of products that are used by children at an early stage. Things like braille display, those types of document. Actually, they can show the written document in braille and also in voice and also in a written format, so that at least teachers don't necessarily need to learn how to use braille. We also do production of books for the Ministry of Education and other organizations in braille format, which is also something that we do using our braille imposers. So that's also something that we do. The other thing that we do not do frequently, but we do it for some few international organizations, is to check on issues of web accessibility with the screen readers, because sometimes there are some types of features that might not be very clear for screen reader, like for example some of the pictures. But what is important, like for example when you look at Meta, currently they have some descriptions of the photos that appear. So that is actually something that is a result of this function. Accessibility, yes. So when you look at their photos, they describe actually there are two people, there are people, grass and something. So it will actually put those types of captioning in the picture so that it becomes clear to also screen readers as well.
I'm a web designer, and I can admit to you here, I've done terrible job, because a lot of the times the pictures that I put, because accessibility friendliness, it's a bit, it requires work, because that means a lot of the pictures you have to describe them. Oh, this is a picture of a green field with two people in it, seated by this and this and this, and continues. This is a picture of Barack Obama during the blah blah blah. So it's basically narrating the things which are not written to the screen, and I think probably like that's a lot of that's a useful. It's a useful thing to do, and it's also at times has a very critical issue. Like if you're using a website for filing a taxes or doing something like that, some of this information might be important. Is your company profitable?
Yeah, actually, it works. It's profitable because actually we do different types of programs. Like we deliver the assistive devices. We also organize conferences and workshops where we also deliver some consultancies for organizations, because the world is also moving toward a lot of inclusion-related matters, especially when it comes to sustainable development goals. So we support some of the partners on those things. We also help some individual who are interested in issues to do with assistive technology in getting these types of phones, although they are available here, but they may not necessarily be able to use them. So we also guide them
training
on how to use these devices and so forth. So those are actually helpful ways. Of course, dealing with an individual differs also from dealing with organizations. With individuals, of course, sometimes we may do those things for them freely
Really,
because
yeah.
we feel that they can benefit from that. But when it comes to different types of institutions, based on their requirements, we also work with them accordingly as it is required by the business. And what helps for me the most is that I work on both issues related to assistive technology, but I also at the same time also offer legal
This is
services.
because of your
So
law.
it becomes actually much more easier and complementary to each other. And these issues actually become more relevant on issues to do with organizational policy development, or the development of the organization constitution in a manner that may include everybody and the rest, and especially things to do with donor requirements, as it is becoming actually more relevant with partners such as ECHO, USAID, FCDO, those kind of things. Actually, those are some of the things that are becoming more and more important for them. So we also support some of the partners on how to be able to navigate some of those issues.
Do you think in terms of a national agenda, do you think like, and I mean I can say that a lot of times when people talk about disability, usually the conversation here about war veterans and the inclusion is like, oh, veteran DDR. Do you think at times the discussion on a national level on inclusion of people with disability it's not being hard enough, or is that the representation is not sufficient?
No, actually, I would say that it is moving on a positive trend because South Sudan has just ratified the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities and was acknowledged actually this year. And also, I forgot to mention that I'm also representing people with disabilities in the National Constitutional Review Commission as a member of the commission. So I would say that
The national
NCRC.
NCRC. Yeah.
Yes. So I would say that these types of representation will also ensure that the policies that we develop will take into consideration aspects of inclusion when it comes to our society. And of course, it is, of course, we'll say that South Sudan has come from a long way, but it still has a long way to go in terms of inclusion. But I would say that there are some steps that are being
What
taken.
about ministerial level? Let's what yeah. And then
At
what about
the-
a minister? Do you think South Sudan is ready for a minister who is visually impaired?
Actually, I wouldn't say that it's ready or not, but there was actually a certain time when South Sudan might not be ready for a woman to be a minister of defense, right?
Yeah.
And maybe South Sudan was not ready to have a speaker who is a woman.
Yeah.
But actually, what happens in those types of levels is the type of lobby and the type of service that you are willing to offer and its relevance to the particular institution, which counts more than whether you are a person with disability or not. Because actually what happens is that in our society, because of the different types of challenges that we struggle with, we become suspicious of everything. Like, for example, when a young person is a minister, people will be worried that this person might start to get married to several wives very soon. And this person
You think we are very suspicious of the unknown?
Yes, actually, people most of the times are very suspicious. But once you start to deliver, they are the first to begin to celebrate. So actually, we would say
But there's a burden of representation. There is a burden of that. Like, if someone who is visually impaired is a minister, definitely the assign of resources will change, because they will be like, hey, let's, in the Council of Ministers, hey, why are we not having this? Why is in our news the decrees that are being read, why is it not also in Braille and delivered to Word? Like, stuff like that. I think there is a valid point to make, is that representation and ability to see from the ability to kind of like sit and appreciate perspectives is different.
Yeah, definitely. And I think What is critical is accumulating experience and support from different stakeholders is critical to be able to reach to those, and actually building alliances with different stakeholders is also important to be able to navigate in those types of levels, because of course without alliance building sometimes a network, it becomes actually difficult to penetrate in some of those avenues. But with proper experience and the rest, it becomes actually possible for those types of things to happen. And especially, like, for example, when we look at the country like the US, for example, people may not expect somebody who is a black person to be the president of the US, because sometimes people will be doubting, is this really going to work? But those doubts can be used positively and negatively. Of course, there are people who might fail in handling those types of responsibilities, not because of their types of disability or inability, or because maybe they are men or women, or maybe because they are young or old and the rest. But it is actually about their moral character and the types of experience that they have.
So, what kind of a strange or funny situation do you at times experience, or you find like, oh, this is, I mean, it's a bit funny that our society is, or what kind of funny questions do people at times come up with?
Yeah, actually, what happens sometimes, like for example, in some of our trainings that we deliver, and especially in different states. In South Sudan, and especially when I used to work with organizations, sometimes we can travel with colleagues. So most of the times people will expect that I might be the subordinate of the participants.
Oh,
so
they just assume that you are some junior person.
Supporting the participants and all those kind of things. And now people will begin to say, you know what, for me, I have a very big position in my organization. And actually, we need a training that will have very good impact in our program. And actually, we were expecting you to send to us junior and all those kind of things. So actually, we use the first half of the day listening to complaints. But when we begin serious business, the whole room will go silent and people don't talk anymore.
Because all those doubts are clear.
Yeah, because actually they will feel like all the doubts are clear. So they will not ask anymore, and they will feel like, oh, the things are beginning to work. So sometimes when you feel that the room is now going silent, they will feel like, yeah, now there is a bit of wind that has started to come.
So by default, they just assume that you're not
qualified.
qualified.
By default, they will assume, yeah, you might not be able to do this work, and you are not, maybe you are supporting the members, or maybe you are just being brought so that you can at least reflect some positive image and all those kind of things. So sometimes when they begin that things are starting to work, everybody will be silent, people will be taking more notes, and people will be writing seriously, and nobody will ask any other question, but people will start to listen and maybe ask now more objective questions than the way they started the program. And now at the end of the day, we tell them, my friends, what we did was just that we were preparing the rooms. And now since the rooms are ready, we know that we are starting the actual training now after lunch. So it is important for people to concentrate.
That is very interesting. What about interacting with the opposite sex? If someone wants to vibe a lady or what, in terms of the visually impaired community, how is that process? Like, how is that process?
Yeah, actually that's possible. That's a quite easy thing. I think there's no challenge with that. I have my own wife, so it's not a problem.
Oh yeah. I don't want to put you in trouble. I don't want to put you in trouble. Yeah.
So it's quite okay. But I remember one time also, one of the funny stories, I was asked by one of the participants, because we used to travel with a colleague who is a lady, and they asked me, do you know your colleague? Can you describe your colleague to us? Then I told them yes. Then they said, okay, can you try? Then I said, okay, yeah. I told them that my colleague has a classic body. And that was actually true because we used to move together all the time. So everybody started to laugh that, how did you know that? All those kind of things. All those things. So actually it's actually something that is easy to interact with people. But of course, what is critical is that the levels of interaction at the professional level and levels of interaction at social level
it's different.
also vary. And when it is actually at the social level, of course, you interact in your own way with regardless of the opposite sex or whatever kind of sex that you're whatever kind of a person or gender that you are interacting with. But when it is at the professional level, of course, you interact with a bit of reservation. You know who you are interacting with, all those kind of things. So those are things that I'm very familiar with.
Your wife, is she? What does she do?
Currently, she just do some types of casual work. Not a lot of work actually. Yeah.
And you're the breadwinner.
Yeah.
I think that's very impressive. Are you well? Are you at a stage of life now where like you have? I don't want to say you're rich, but you're well resourced to extent to be able to afford some of the stuff that you want to, the livelihood that you want to live.
No. Actually, I can say that I'm not somebody who is well off, but I can satisfy my needs.
Yeah. I think that's fine. Definitely with those kind of projects that you're saying, I think all of us can kind of like study. Where do you see yourself in the future in terms of aspirations and some of the things that you want to do?
In future, I would say that I want to see myself also contributing more at the national level, maybe helping more people at the grassroots level, especially at the short-term level, maybe 5 to 10 years. But in the long term, I see myself also contributing more and more at the regional and international levels.
I see. So contributing in terms of leadership, in terms of policy.
Yeah, in terms of different types of skill set, maybe supporting in areas of policy development, helping in different levels of capacity building, youth development initiatives, and issues related to promotion of human rights, institutional capacity building, and so forth. So in the long run, I see myself participating at least in a higher level where I can also have not only impact but also be able to change some of the structures in a manner that will favor everybody to contribute and perhaps become a role model to those people who are interested.
Do you see yourself in elective politics, running for office?
No. Actually, currently, this is not directly part of my aspiration. But of course, being able to contribute in the society in the best way possible is more important than being elected through a certain position, because of course there is a lot of difference between promising people that you will do something to them and volunteering to do something to people without promise. So actually doing things to people without promising them can give more appreciation than promising people to do things for them and doing less than what you have promised them to do.
I think definitely that's for sure. That is a better way of putting it. Mawut,
Yep.
thank you so much for dedicating your time and coming here and having this awesome chat with me.
Thanks a lot.
I've learned a lot from this, and I think definitely my audience also will gain very much. And I think people can definitely, if they have need for some of the services that you offer, I think they can definitely reach out to you and be able to also like engage with your services. I think for me, one of the things I probably learned from me, I think in other subsequent programs, if there are any programs that I need someone who can offer in some of the services, especially in the area of assistive technology and user-centered design, you're the guy to go to.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here, and I hope to be able to support you more and more, and I'm available 24/7, so don't worry. In case you feel like you want to reach out to me, you can let me know in advance, and I'll be available. And thank you for offering me this opportunity.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.